Let's get to the number 4 spot here, Case.
Yeah, I have the Penguins. I think that Dubas has come in and made a lot of moves that have improved this team. I think that in the first time, in my opinion, maybe in the last 4 years or more, I think that this forward core is something that resembles a normal team, if I can say that, and then maybe explain myself a little bit here, where they have, a bottom 6 with the grittier players that are going to bump and grind and get it in deep. And then you have a top 6 with your strong 1-2 punch centers and scoring wingers. Maybe Daily Faceoff doesn't agree with me right now where some of these guys will play. When Jake Gensel comes back, what I'm saying is going to make a lot more sense. But, you're going to have Crosby, Gensel, and Raquel. You're going to have Smith, Malkin, Rust, Jeff Carter maybe up there instead of Rust. Who knows? But it resembles a natural standard forward core, and I like it a lot. Plus, Crosby and Malkin haven't taken a step back yet, so just continue to expect great things from them. I really like the center core in general because Lars Eller and Noel Chari, that's going to be a great bottom 6 1-2 punch, just literally smashing you into the board. So love that. And then when I look at the D core, it's another revamped D core because of Dubas and bringing in Carlson and Graves. Obviously, 2 of the bigger adds of the offseason on the back end. Carlson a lot more than Graves, but this is a group that has that defensive defenseman, offensive defensive pairing that I've talked about a ton that I love so much. And they're going to get a lot of breakout passes between Letang and Carlson. It's going to be fun to watch back there. The one thing that scares me about this team is goaltending. Tristan Jarry had a tough year last year. He's coming into his new contract this year, so a lot of expectations on him. And then their backup, Nedeljkovic, also struggled. And we've seen glimpses of him, but there's been more struggles lately. So we'll see what the goaltending can be for them. But I think that 4 makes a lot of sense for this team in my mind. I think that Dubas has come in and they're starting to look more like the Leafs with the 4 core, and they're going to be good in the the regular season, and then who knows what's going to happen in the playoffs.
Yeah, okay, so we are 4 for 4, my guy. This has not happened in forever. So this is, take notes if you're listening, because this won't happen again for a long time. But I also have the Pittsburgh Penguins in the number 4 spot. You mentioned a lot of great points. I wanted to sort of reiterate that I also love the forward core. I love how it's structured now. Adding a guy like Riley Smith, I feel like was a sneaky add to the top 6. And then to the bottom 6, adding guys like Noel Chari, Lars Eller, Rem Pitlick, Matt Nieto. Those are some guys who might not play every game, but just bottom 6 type players, which I feel like they lacked in the past, or if they did have them, those sorts of players weren't very capable. So I really like how it's structured now.
Exactly. I think there were AHLers down there, and then they were kind of trying to sneak some 3rd or 4th liners onto Crosby's wing at times to spark something. So yeah, structure. Yeah.
Very true.
Great word, Chad.
Yeah, the way that it's built, and like you mentioned, that's all on Kyle Dubas. I'm going to say it. I'll probably say it next episode as well when we talk about the Atlantic, but I think it was a huge mistake for the Maple Leafs and Kyle Dubas to have that falling out. You can say who the mistake is on, and we can play the blame game. That happened ages ago, it felt like. But he's done a pretty damn good job with this team in fairly short order. And I feel like he's made the moves that people have been saying Pittsburgh should make for the last 3+ years, where, you can clearly see that their best players are still pretty good. Like you mentioned, Crosby and Malkin haven't really taken a step back. I'm pretty sure Crosby had almost 95 points last season and Malkin around the same. So they're both really good. But some of the other players, Chris Letang, can he handle first line duties every single night? Who knows? Well, Dubas seemed to answer that question by bringing in Erik Karlsson and then protecting those guys with a player like Ryan Graves and then also having Marcus Pettersson. And just the way that this team is structured now, I feel like they are a legit playoff team. And I think they're way better than they were last season. And last season, they only missed the playoffs by a couple points. So I think they're well positioned to make the playoffs this year, get back onto the dance floor, and then see what happens there. And maybe get some of these older guys one more cup, because that would be so special. And just one more thing I wanted to mention before passing it off about this team is that last season at 5-on-5, their expected goals with a completely different forward group was 8th in the NHL. But their actual goals below expected was 36, putting them dead last in the NHL. So they scored 36 fewer goals than they were expected to. You know, a lot of the time you can put that on not having finishing talent, or you can put that on being unlucky. I think when it's 36 goals below expected, it's probably a combination of both. Well, going forward, I think their forward group is even more capable this year, and that should sort of regress towards the middle a bit, and they should be a high-flying offensive team, especially after adding Erik Karlsson as well, who, you know, you can mention he's probably going to regress a bit. He's not going to be a 100-point player, but he's still going to be an offensive dynamo. So I just wanted to mention that stat because I thought it was interesting when I was doing some research.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting for sure. And let's keep this train on the tracks, baby. I've got Pittsburgh in the 4 spot as well.
Wow.
So how about that? This is the nice pod where we're just going along and we're agreeing with each other and smiles and
people came for an argument, Harper, and we're agreeing on everything.
Yeah.
At number 5 and 6, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see how the rest of it shakes out, but I've got the Penguins at number 4 as well. Dubas comes in and really shakes up this roster, and I think he's done a great job as well, and agree with a lot of the ththings that you guys have mentioned. I do wonder how the Letang and Karlsson dynamic is going to work on that blue line. You look at the roster on paper, and it's great having the two of them, but I do have my skepticisms a little bit about it. I mean, 2 great players, but we saw how Karlsson and Brent Burns were on the same roster in San Jose. That didn't exactly work either. So, which one is going to emerge as the guy on this blue line? You would think it's Karlsson, who will, I think, regress a little bit points-wise this season. But having those 2 guys, Ryan Graves, a great defenseman as well, solid top 4 guy. They're expecting Marcus Pettersson to really bounce back and be a key player for them back there. He's only 27 years old as well. And then I'm not going to say a whole lot more about the forward group. I think you guys touched on a lot of it. But what I will say is it's always a good thing to come into a new season with a pissed off Sidney Crosby after how last year ended, not being in the playoffs. You know that he's determined as hell to have a good camp, get everybody on the same page, ready to go, and come in determined as hell to get back into the mix this season, and they certainly have an opportunity to do so.
Someone listened to his 32 Thoughts interview, didn't he?
Yes, I might have.
I listened to it today. It was good. But yeah, he is pissed and ready to compete for another cup this year. It'll be fun.
And that is a little bit scary for this division and the rest of the league, that's for sure. Even his own teammates, too. I think there will be a few moments where it's like, holy crap, okay, it's time to wake up and get going here. But anyway, roster looks good. Dubas has done a good job. Mike Sullivan, great coach, and they'll be right back into the mix for sure.